Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. Today we're making a Peasant Black Bread. So we're going to need dark rye, and we need 1 cup of dark rye. This is going to be a sourdough, so it's going to be in 2 parts because we have to give it 2 12-hour feedings. And we need 1 cup of whole wheat flour. You could sit. I'm not going to use this whole wheat, okay? Give me a minute. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to use my Einkorn, E-I-N-K-O-R-N. They call this an all-purpose flour. Hold on, if this is all-purpose, I'll use a whole wheat and I'll use this is my all-purpose, and we'll see how this comes out. I might flood this whole thing up, but anyway. If that's an all-purpose flour, then I'll add the whole wheat. Yeah, I start thinking, you know me. So I'm not going to use the all-purpose that we have. I'm going to use this one right here. It's Jovial. This one here is going to be my all-purpose, because that's the grains that used to be before they modified it. They have messed our food up so much. They're causing problems with our health. And it's not the chemicals, it's the way they've genetically changed the food without checking for the long-term effects of what it does. That's why we have so many people allergic to so many foods. They've played around with it so much now, they've done a nice job messing everything up. All right, now we're going to need 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and this is where I'm going to use this one as my all-purpose flour. It's got to be good, you know. It just has to be. It has a beautiful pale yellow look about it. I know my measurements aren't always great when I make bread. That's because I make so much of it. I know how to maneuver with it. But I give you the exact measurements. Oh. Because this is a whole grain the way it used to be, I would not leave this out on the counter like you do the all-purpose that's already bleached and everything. I would use this one and keep it in the freezer and pull it out when I need it. Now that's what I'll do, but I mean, I'm just letting you know what I'll do. Baby, I need this. Use this one. Now we're going to mix these 3 flours up, and this is the flour that we're going to use to feed our all-purpose. I mean our sponge culture. No, which culture am I using? Our liquid culture. So this should have a really nice texture. If it works the way it's supposed to be, it's going to be quite interesting. All right, now we need another bowl. Because this is a sourdough, this flour mixture that we're just mixed up, we're going to be using it to feed our culture. Measuring cups too. All right, now they want 2 cups of a liquid culture. Remember, you have the sponge and you have the liquid. You have 2 different ones. This is my liquid culture. It's thin, as you can see. But always, before you use your culture, if you're, scratch that, Sandy, get your head together this morning. Before you feed your culture and you're making bread, get the culture that you need first and then feed it, because other than that, when you measure it, if you've just fed it, you're not going to get the amount of cultures that you're looking for, because they have to take 24 hours to build themselves back up. So I need 2 cups of a liquid culture. I hope for you, all of you that are started your cultures, I hope they're moving along quite well. That's 1 cup. As you can see, I use a lot of my culture. I've got like a 1/2 inch or left at the bottom, so I have to rebuild that one back up. It's not hard. Now we're going to take 1 cup of this flour mixture that we made, which we're going to be using for this. You take 1 cup and add it to your culture. Let me show you. See, I put the culture in this bowl. I just added a cup of flour. They want 1/4 of a cup of cold water. And we'll be setting this to the side and letting it do what it has to do. What you're going to do is you're going to beat this, and you're going to go put it somewhere and leave it alone for 12 hours, and we'll see what the next feeding is after this. You're beating it with a wooden spoon until it's smooth. That's actually what I'm doing right now. Okay, now you're going to take this and go put it in a place to rise for 12 hours. And at the end 12 hours, that means this evening you're going to add another cup of flour, your flour mixture right here that we just put together, and 1/4 a cup of water. Mix it thoroughly again and put it back, and then tomorrow morning I will see you and we will start making this bread and see how this new flour works, which is the old flour of yesteryear, before they sat there and decided to engineer everything, which started in the 19th century when they started doing 1900, and then they started doing it to the fruits and vegetables. So you can see within 100 years they have changed our food so much, and now we have so many people that are allergic to so many foods. Their body can't handle it, and we have diseases running wild, which is crazy. We have natural remedies in this country. They grow right in our yard if we just knew how to care for them. All of the stuff that we need is right there, but pharmaceutical companies have taken it away, They have taken our grains that we are founding. Now people are allergic, glucose, as they say, intolerant, but yet this flour that I'm using, incorn, I'm going to call it incorn, corn? Well, whatever, corn flour is grown the way it was thousands of years ago. It has less starch in it and more bran and a lot more wheat germ in it. So it takes more, but because the population was growing, they wanted to make sure that they had the food for everybody. So what they did, they decided to engineer it, and they have messed it up to where it has less wheat germ, less bran, and more starch. Then the body gets overwhelmed. Then the pancreas, which deals with the sugar department, and remember, starch is sugar. It's getting overtaxed. Diabetes is going up. Hello. So now they have added preservatives because they don't want the food to go bad. They want to give it a long shelf life. Now, because they're doing that, that is causing things to go haywire in the body as well. We've got new diseases going constantly. If we ever have a plague, we're in deep trouble. They've taken folic acid out, but they put very little back into the food, and folic acid is our natural antibiotic. If we got it in the dosages we had, I'm sure we wouldn't be as sick as we are today. Cancer's on the rise. I wonder why cancer's on the rise and other things are on the rise, It would have to be an imbalance, and I do know that the body can get rid of so much waste, but if the cells are dying faster than that, they're going to take these dead cells and they're just going to deposit into the fat, and a little over here, and a little over here, and a little over there, because they can't get it all out of the system. And when things start decomposing, what happens? Well, it's something to think about anyway. We should get back on track of eating better than we do, instead of all the sugars we're taking in, and you wonder why. And our kidneys are overtaxed. Everything's got salt in it, salt here, salt there, and they don't use iodized salt. They just use plain salt, so you're not getting the iodine that you need. And salt causes swelling, which increases the pressure on the heart. And then they say coffee. Coffee has caffeine, which triggers the blood pressure. So you imagine how much stress your heart is going through and pumping. At one time, they made beer to drink because they didn't know if the water was clean or not. But the beer that they made is not the beer that you know today. They had it at different levels. It was more of a sweet drink for the babies, and the women didn't have it strong at all. The men had it a little stronger than them, but it was all according, But it wasn't what we know as beer today. So when you hear that they used to drink beer in the past, it wasn't what they knew. And that's what they would have in the morning before they'd go to work and do things. But the thing is that because of that story of those goats, and that guy couldn't get his goats to go to sleep. So he followed them, found out that they were eating these berries, coffee beans, and he tried it, and he had energy for the day, so coffee became very popular. Tea is pretty much the same thing. It has tannic acid in it, but it's also very high in caffeine. You're drinking sports drinks, they're very high in salt and caffeine. So when you start thinking about all of this that you're putting in, and you wonder why blood pressure is up on, we are killing ourselves. Companies, big business does not care about your health. It's to make money at all costs. Always remember that. If you go into the kitchen and you go backwards and go back to cooking the way you should, you'll find out that you feel better, you'll sleep better. Not at first, because the food will be so rich, you sit there and you're going to sit there and say, you're going to eat a ton of it. And then finally you'll just level off. But this is what we're doing to ourselves, and this is why it's difficult. It is difficult to hold on to your health and look good when you get old. So listen, anyway, this evening, 1 cup of this mixed flour we did. And what are we going to do with all this flour? Leave it on the counter and put a plate over it, because this is the flour that we're going to be using to feed our culture and make our bread. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.